Can this sub $300 Beretta APX A1 Carry get it done for concealed carry? That's what we're going to talk about today on PP Technical. Is this gun good enough for concealed carry? That's kind of what we're going to talk about in today's video, and we'll give a definitive answer towards the end of the video, and that can be a little bit subjective. I want to give a quick overview of this Beretta APX A1 Carry. So they had the original APX Carry. That was Beretta's kind of first delve into a dedicated concealed carry gun. Obviously, Beretta is legendary for the 92 series of guns. You know, some would say yes, the Cheetah is a concealed carry gun, but that's a little bit different of a category. But yeah, this was how Beretta upgraded the original APX. They made it optics ready, so we've got an optic plate included for RMSC footprint optics. This gun comes at an exceptionally low price. We're talking sub $300, well below that in certain places. So if you are on a budget, tight, we're talking high point budget, this video may be for you. You know, we're talking about a gun you can get brand new, not used, well under that sub $300 mark. It is a flush fit 6+1 or pinky extension mag 8+1. So you're a little anemic in the capacity category. So you're kind of looking into, you know, Glock 43, Smith & Wesson Shield OG model comparison when it comes to ammunition that this gun can keep on board. But we're gonna look at all these different factors and we're going to assess, can this gun get it done? Let's do a quick overview of the ergonomics that you're getting. Yeah, it definitely feels like you're holding a 1x2. You know, you got some decent curvature here to fit into your hand, you know, whether you're righty or lefty. I'll show lefty just for sake of the camera, you being able to see what I'm talking about. Yeah, you got some nice curvature. You got a little beaver tail there to protect your thumb. As you can see, the 43X doesn't, so I've got a little beaver tail coming in for that. But it'll absolutely protect your hand. You're not going to be able to get cut up. You're not really going to be able to ride high enough up on this gun to be able to do that. The stippling and texturing that comes on this actually is pretty freaking aggressive. Maybe too much for some people, but for me, with a real skinny gun like this that's going to be, you know, hard to hang on to, it is kind of nice that you have an aggressive grip texture. You have kind of like a sandpaper grip here on the side panels that nicely enough kind of comes up to this upper area. So whenever you're digging, that thumb end can kind of lock in a little bit on there. A lot of guns just leave the smooth bare plastic. I'm not a huge fan of that. But then you have this like cheese grater texture on the front and the back. You can see my hands just from shooting this gun have gotten, you know, pretty worn out. But, you know, in terms of a defensive concealed carry gun that, you know, you want something to hang on to when you grab it, I actually think they did a pretty good job with the grip texturing. You got some basic slide serrations at the front and the back. Nothing out of the ordinary, but they're not so skinny you can't grab them. You absolutely will be able to press check and manipulate this gun as you see fit. Now, here we've got our little slide catch. For me, with the placement of all the controls, especially on reloads, this is not the type of gun you're really gonna be doing speed reloads on anyways, but I kind of have a little bit of a hard time reaching that mag release, so I have to cant my hand in just a little bit. And then I kind of have to strip these magazines out. I find just with how skinny and small the grip is, a lot of times the magazines are getting stuck in my hand as I'm going to rip it out, put the next one in. And then I'm not really able to depress that slide catch with my thumb very well. It's just pretty recessed deep into the slide, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I tend to go over the top anyways. It works for every gun every time. Just my 2 cents, my personal preference. But in terms of the ergonomics, this gun kind of gives you everything that you absolutely need and nothing that you don't. All right, we're gonna go ahead and jump into the accuracy portion for the APX Carry. So the way we always do this is to keep it consistent across the board. You know, 7 yards, so not too far. We're going to be using an optic for this. I find that whenever I have the opportunity to use optics, it's gonna make my ability to shoot precise a lot better than if I'm just using iron sights. 4 different ammunition types, 5 rounds each of those 4 ammo types here at 7 yards, and we'll go take a look at all the results. See how we did. It's so inconsistent. You see 3 of those are touching. I was aiming for the top left one. Yeah, so you can kind of see just how much of how far 0 is off on the dot, but at least give us something to look at. So accuracy with this gun was not exceptional. You know, we shoot all kinds of different guns with these exact same parameters, and a lot of times we're stacking rounds in the same hole, you know, at these distances pretty close. One thing to consider though, there definitely could be a lot of shooter involvement in this. So we use a ransom rest with a tripod to try and remove as much of the shooter from the equation as possible. But with how heavy and gritty this trigger is, you're having to apply so much pressure. And typically when I'm shooting my benched accuracy groups, I'm trying to hold the gun a little bit looser so I can put as much precision into that trigger as possible. As you can see, our results we got here, you know, our best group was down here with the Monarch, about 1.5 inch group. Right here, about a 2.5 inch group with the AAC FMJ, Federal HST, you know, similar story, right about a 2.25 inch group there. You know, same thing down here with the staccato. So consistently getting about 2-inch groups with this gun at 7 yards. Just goes to show this is designed and functionality wise meant to be an up close defensive, almost bad breath distance concealed carry pistol. Time to talk about the worst part of this gun, the trigger. I mean, it's kind of been beat to death at this point. Everybody knows this gun does not have a great trigger, but we'll put a little bit of numbers to it and then we'll talk about a little bit of the profile of the trigger so you kind of have an understanding of what we're feeling on this side of the camera. Numbers wise, depending on if you're pulling all the way kind of at the bottom of the trigger, we were getting about 5 pounds, 14-ish ounces. If you're pulling more towards the middle of the trigger, depending on where your trigger finger placement is when you decide to shoot the gun, looking at like 6 pounds, 5 ounces. So somewhere between a high 5s, low 6s pound trigger. Now the actual usage, what you're gonna feel pulling the trigger is that not only is it heavy, but it's very long. I'm gonna go ahead and take this magazine out, which was empty by the way, just so I can be able to reset the trigger for you guys and show you the profile. So, you know, you come to your wall, start pressing through, you're still rolling, and then it clicks, but you can see just how far back the trigger actually goes off. I'll show you that one more time. Got a little take up, you're pressing all the way through, and the trigger's not really, the striker's not going forward until you're almost hitting the back bump stop on the trigger. That's something that can be trained around. You start to get enough ammo and dry reps on this, so you can get used to that. We talk about the ability to have accuracy with the trigger. It's gonna be a little bit more difficult at distance just because of how heavy and gritty the trigger is. But, you know, there are people that can shoot revolvers at 50 yards in double action. So it's something that can absolutely be trained around. Something to keep in mind if you were looking for a concealed carry gun with the best trigger out of the box, this one's probably not it. Final thoughts on the Beretta APX A1 Carry. The question we sought to answer, is this gun going to be good enough for those looking for a, you know, lightweight, slim concealed carry gun that are on a pretty tight budget? I think the answer is yes. We had 0 malfunctions. We shot hundreds and hundreds of rounds, all different types of ammo. And you know, that's number one thing. Are you gonna carry it and is it reliable? Everything else is kind of cherry on top. We talk about optics, triggers, ergonomics, build drill, split times. Those things are all great and we love doing that. Ultimately, when you really boil it down, is the gun reliable and will you carry it? It's a slim gun, you don't have that much ammo, but if you're on a really tight budget and you don't have the money to go out and spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on a new gun, because when you go out to get into the concealed carry world, what people often forget, you don't just have the gun. You gotta go get a holster, you need magazines, you need training ammo, you need carry ammo, you need money for range fees so you can go get proficient with it. It adds up very quickly. So if you're running a really tight ship, this gun, it's gonna go bang when you pull the trigger, and if you do your job, it's gonna put the bullets where they need to go. Is it the most accurate gun on the planet? Definitely not. The irons are not my favorite out of the box, but do they work within 5 yards? Absolutely, 100%. And then whenever you maybe save up, you can throw an optic on there and you're going to take your performance and be able to exponentially improve it. Guys, I think that this is about the cheapest 100% reliable gun you're going to be able to get. Is it my favorite? Not even close. But you know what, it's something to consider, and I think every gun you know, should be taken a look at for what it brings to the table for all the different types of people that are out there. Guys, always, thank you so much for watching the video. We appreciate you taking the time to tune in here on PB Tactical. See you next time.